October, which generally gets the rap for the big sell-offs, and it has had some buttes. Maybe not this go-round.
Well, I think the way the market has been reacting, Neil, particularly sensitive to what's going on with China, that may very well dictate what's going to happen in October. Historically, the worst month for the market is actually September. So you're right in terms of October gets a bad rap. But we've also seen that the market has moved on tweets, on any piece of information.
Trade dominates the theme.
Which relates to China, the market just moves. And there's a lot of other news going on, but it just doesn't seem to have the same impact. So based on the president taking the position now of an all or nothing related to China, either we get a deal and it's all the way, there's no interim deal going on.
No partial deal, unequivocal about that.
So based on what we're seeing, I think we could have a rocky October.
All right, so we don't get a deal. The president went so far as to say, I think, Jessica, it doesn't bother me. We might not get one by, election time. I would think it would bother him.
I would think so, too, and I think electorally it'll really bother him. I mean, the president going into this election, and re-election often hinges on the state of the economy. And this has affected certainly people's confidence in it. You've had, I don't want to say a mass revolt, but you had the head of the National Farmers Union saying, what the hell is going on here? This is not what we signed up for. And it's not even the argument about the short-term pain for long-term gain. It's, the trade wars by tweet, approach to dealing with China, and a lot that a strong core base of the president.
But as far as the economic impact, certainly the market impact,
it has come up. I mean, there were a couple of weeks there where it was exceptionally rocky.
I mean, it does sort of get whipsawed. That is the markets. But the better it looks for trade, better the markets look. The worse it does. Maybe not. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the better the market looks, the better things look for President Trump overall. But we don't see the president's poll numbers, the RCP average, fluctuating as often as it does as the Dow when it comes to trade or his tweets or anything. You look back to 2017, the end of 2017, his poll numbers were at their worst, and the stock market was going through the roof. So I don't think any.
But let's say we don't get a deal.
Look, well, we may not get a deal with China, but it looks like we may get the USMCA through. Hopefully we do. We may get a deal with Prime Minister Modi of India this week.
Your view on China was the American people will support him because we do know that
he's the first president to even talk about the intellectual property.
So they can absorb some body blows if it comes to that.
Yeah, I think they can. I think this is something that we're happy that the president is even addressing, considering some of his predecessors haven't.
What do you think?
I think I was under the impression for a long time, Neil, that I thought we would get a deal by this point in time because both sides really need the deal and it's in everyone's best interest. However, because of the way China reacts, or doesn't react, I should say, they're extremely patient. They may very well hold out and see how this is going to shape up with the 2020 election. They're going to get a better deal if Donald Trump is not in the White House. I think they realize that.
Well, that's the argument I think many smart analysts have been making for months now, that Xi Jinping, who is not term limited forever, is saying, I want to see how this works out. And if I do get a Democrat, I'll make a deal with them. If Trump is there, then he's going to have to do a deal with me at this point.
How would, let's say it's a Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren or whatever, would they start from scratch? Would they even address this? Would they just say, whatever you're doing, keep doing it?
Well, we've talked about this before. The weekend after Amy Klobuchar, for instance, was on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace saying, this is a terrible strategy. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And then Chris pushed back and said, well, what are you going to do differently? Are tariffs a no-go completely for the Democratic field there? And I think that articulating a China policy, especially as we've seen the polls shift, and now Democrats are favored on trade, so President is still up on managing the economy, but trade is shifting in their direction. You see more increased union support, usually around Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. They're going to have to articulate a very clear China plan if this is going to be a central plank of the anti-Trump campaign for 2020.
This is why I think there may not be an electoral price to pay for some of this. We saw the Democrats in now, 3 debates, over several nights, and really the focus has not been what can the Democrats do differently on trade or the economy. There were very few, if even any, in some debates, questions even asked. And you saw when they were asked about what they would do different on the economy, they really struggled to find some little iota of information or fact that could actually throw some shade on what's happening overall.
Well, they're doing what an opposition party always does. That you have not felt the recovery, right? I mean,
but have you? Has this subgroup has this?
Right, good. But I think it would be hard to argue that the economy is in better shape than it was when the president got into office, right? So he is going to keep pushing the stronger markets, certainly, the record low unemployment rates among one group after another, a lot of Democratic constituencies. That's what he's going to pound, right?
I think, Neil, if we take the politics out of it, meaning that we have an election on the way, and we really look at what the president's doing, and let's also forget how he's handling it in terms of tweets. If you look at the environment, this is the time for a president to take on China. He's got the wind at his back related to the economy. We're in a very strong position.
But he's facing a few more headwinds. You'd have to acknowledge.
Well, he's always going to face some headwinds, but Neil, this is the absolute best environment we've seen for a president to really challenge China on.
And he's not benefiting. It tells you something.
Well, I think it says more about Donald Trump, the person, than anything else, Neil.
Well, you are so going to get tweeted. All right.